Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. I know this is like 5 days after the Bills lost to the Chiefs, but honestly, I just sick of talking about it. I don't have the energy to keep harping about it, especially 5 days later. Uh, it just keeps happening again, and again. Something's gonna have to break through at some point, but I'm just sick and tired of just having to deal with it all the time every year. And then two, I plan to record this on Monday or Tuesday earlier this week specifically, and my kind of laptop and usual recording equipment was having issues, but I have fixed all that, so the audio quality and video quality should be good to go. Let me know in the comments below if you're on YouTube or whatever else, on Twitter and stuff and whatnot, if something's not working, but everything should be good. So what I want to do is kind of take an inventory of the roster as a whole, just like I did after the loss last year. Go all the way from QB to secondary to safety, kicker, punter, long snapper, all that fun stuff, and just kind of give my thoughts, just where my head's at right now for each position in general, specifically each position, going into free agency, the draft, and the offseason. And let's get that started right now with QB. Quarterback. Obviously, we have Josh Allen, but around him, this is a pretty unique situation, guys, because all four guys that are currently on the roster are under contract for next year. This time, late January, early February, when we have one, let alone not even two guys under contract for the most part, most years, but all four guys, like I just said, I reiterate, all four guys, Josh Allen, Mitch Trubisky, Shane Buechele, Mike White, are under contract. And the problem is they're all going to compete for backup QB2 role, but I don't view any of them as like a legit QB2. Like I know everyone says, like, if your starting quarterback misses 4 games, can you go 2-2? If your starting quarterback misses 6 games, can you go 3-3? Stay your head above water, if you will. Stay right the 500 rule. I don't have confidence in any of those three guys. Mike White, I'm the most intrigued by Mike White, but I think he's only QB3 and practice squad guys, a scout team guy. Get some reps here and there. Shane Buechele, like, I don't even think he belongs in the NFL, not even on a practice squad. And then Mitchell Trubisky, everything looks difficult for him out there. It really looks like he has some demons in his past that he can't get over from, like, being labeled a bust and all that, which he was, and still is. But I don't view any of these guys, if, like, heaven forbid, God forbid, knock on wood, Josh Allen gets injured. These guys are pretty woeful, so. And the problem is also, in years past, I would have said, yeah, take a shot on a quarterback mid to late day 3. 1, this QB class is pretty down. Days 1 and 2 are pretty down. And when you get to QB3, it's like barren. Cupboard's pretty empty. And then 2, unlike past years, I think there's some holes in this team that they could improve in a lot of areas. Like last year, in prior years, it was like, yeah, maybe they can upgrade here and there, but this needs some overhauls at different positions. There's like 2 or 3 positions on that roster. This roster who needs like glaring overhauls. So I don't think wasting one of your picks on a QB is necessarily beneficial to you. So I'm not opposed to like signing a veteran free agency who's better than Shane Buechele, Mike White, and Mitchell Trubisky combined. Like I don't think like I want any of those 3 guys as QB2. Obviously we'll have some free agency conversations, which I cannot wait for, but this is a pretty unique scenario with all the QBs. More or less quick recap here. All 4 QBs are under contract, but I don't have confidence in any of them being our QB2 / direct backup to Josh Allen. Running backs. I love James Cook development this year. I wish they used him more in the passing game more. But I do feel like his hands got better from last year. And last year's whole thing was like, James Cook won't give you anything before contact. He's a dynamic runner before contact in the open field. The minute literally second a D lineman or literally anybody on defense touches him, he's going down. But to me, before the season, it looked like he put on a good 5 to 10 pounds. That might not be much of a difference, but for James Cook, that's a huge difference because he kept his feet going. Once he got touched, his yards after contact this year went way up. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that it went way up, and it was really encouraging to see he doesn't go down on first contact. The only free agents we have in this room are Ty Johnson and then Sledge, Reggie Gilliam. He'll be back. I don't see a market for him. I know he hasn't like physically touched the ball in 2 or 3 years for the Bills, but like he's key on the outside, our elite outside zone rushing attack on those tush pushes with him, Sledge, Josh Allen, Matt Collins, all working in sync. So James Cook upped his physicality, and Ray Davis I really love as an RB2 for the future. And then Ty Johnson, unfortunately, I do expect to leave in free agency because I think he's chasing a bigger role personally. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to have him back, but in Buffalo, he's the only RB2/RB3. I think he would love to go to a situation where, like, have some relief for the starting running back. Or if they have a young running back who's not totally proven yet, only 1 year of success, a 1A, 1B situation, like maybe he goes to Cincinnati to pair up with Chase Brown, Dallas to pair up with Rico Dowdle, something like that, where maybe he could compete to be in a 1A, 1B situation. Now, I don't think he'll ever be the 1A, but could he compete to be a 1B guy and, like, have a significant role somewhere else? I'm almost expecting him to chase a big role, and, like, good for him, but, like, a team might overpay him because of that. But for the most part, I'm really excited for the future of this running back. This running back draft class is loaded, but we already have 2 young running backs in James Cook and Ray Davis, and then obviously Sledge will come back as kind of a proven veteran at this point. But for true running backs, I would love to sign a veteran free agent just like Ty Johnson. I don't need any better production than Ty Johnson, but the same floor, not really high ceiling. And Ty Johnson is kind of a do-it-all guy, huge special teams contributor, kind of a guy that can give a similar third down pass blocking reps to Ty Johnson, something of that ilk, if you will. That's really encouraging. For wide receivers, for my going into offseason, where my head's at for the wide receivers, we have Khalil Shakir locked in. I'm expecting him to get a pretty decently sizable extension this offseason. He's extension eligible this offseason, as was James Cook, but we already talked about that. I'm expecting Khalil Shakir to get like a deal that would pay him like $18 to $20 million a year. I don't know if I want to go above $20 million a year for a guy that's never had a 1,000-yard season. That's no knock against Khalil Shakir, but like he's the Bills wide receiver 1. I just don't know if he's a premier wide receiver 1 and have a lot of other teams, if that makes sense. But I'm expecting him to get a pretty sizable extension. Amari Cooper's a free agent. That's the big talking point. He turns, 32 next December. So next year will be his full age 31 season. And I know he came to the Bills after 6 games at the trade deadline in early November and week 8 or 9, whatever the heck it was. And he never really got acclimated to offense, guys, to tell you the truth. He came, he had a touchdown his first ever game, but he didn't know the route. He had to look Keon Coleman, like, is this the right route? And then he had a wrist injury. And then Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott revealed yesterday that the wrist probably required surgery, but he wanted to play through it. So I'm in favor of re-signing Amari Cooper 1 or 2 years, though. We're not going 3 years till he's 33, 34 years old. 1 or 2 years is fine. I'm thinking like a like 2 years, $28 million with decently sized guarantees. Maybe the second year isn't fully guaranteed in case you want to move on for some cap relief if he continues his decline. The thing, though, that Amari Cooper was known for in his career was separation. And on tape and just watching with my own eyeballs live, he struggled to separate for some reason. So that's maybe where his age is showing. He was never really a dynamic, overly athletic athlete, but he could get open downfield with ease and like sneaky fast and like separate with ease. And that's what he was known for. And that kind of declined this year. But again, 2 years, $28 million, 14 per year with some nice incentives, a lot of front-loaded guarantees for the first year, and maybe, I'm not going to say non-committal, but maybe like not fully guaranteed contract for the second year in case you want to move on and continue to see the separation issues and decline. And then Mac Hollins, I expect him to be back on like a 1 year, $5-6 million deal, something like that. I'm not going to go over like $5.5-6 million just because it's like no disrespect, but Mac Hollins is like a wide receiver 3/4 for this team. So, there's that, but I love the energy he brings. I love the red zone efficiency he brings. I liked him more and more as he started the season. In the beginning of the season, first half of the season, I was really getting annoyed that he was getting snaps over Keon Coleman. But speaking of Keon Coleman, he struggled on tape quite a bit looking at the All-22 film and different podcast breakdowns of the All-22 and stuff, beat reporters at the game and other analysts. He struggled to separate, which we already knew. He struggled to run routes, which we kind of already knew. But, like, he's supposed to be the contested catch guy, and he had some concerning reps in terms of contested catches on tape. He struggled with hands. Now, yes, there were a couple of reps where he high-pointed the ball to perfection, just like boxing out in basketball, because, again, he does have a pretty long pedigree of basketball background for Tom Izzo at Michigan State. But he went up and high-pointed. I bring back my memory to the one against the Jets. But he had a lot of concerning drops. He's supposed to be a contested catcher and, like, routine drops and not going to attack the ball much. Like, there were a couple of interceptions that Josh threw where, like, Keon could have, like, attacked the ball more with his frame. Like, I hate when wide receivers, especially big body wide receivers like Keon Coleman, perfect example, where they just, like, run the route, stand there, and then expect the ball to come to them with ease. Like, go after it. Go after it with some tenacity. Like, attack the ball in the air. Like, you want receivers, one, you'll either catch it, or two, if you fight through the contact and attack the ball through the air, the ref will hopefully realize that and call a pass interference flag. So make the rest notice you, or better yet, just come down with the catch. The Bills, this wide receiver room this offseason, they need a guy that can be a speedster and separate downfield with ease. Curtis Samuel was supposed to be that to an extent, but he was just so disappointing this season. And what baffles me about that even more is he was with Joe Brady in Carolina. In 2020, he had over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. I believe when I looked, when we signed him, it was 800-something yards receiving and 300-something yards rushing and a handful of rushing touchdowns and a handful of receiving touchdowns. But I didn't see any of that in Buffalo. He had, 2 touchdowns all year, one in the regular season, one in the postseason / playoffs. So I'm looking for him to bounce back here, and you really can't get out of the deal. I don't anticipate him being around for all 3 years this year, 2025 and 2026. I think next year's it for him, but we'll see. So what I need from this wide receiver group is extend Khalil Shakir, obviously. Resign Matt Collins to 1 year, $5 or $6 million deal and take it year by year, depending on how much you like him. Find ways to get Curtis Samuel ball and implement them to this offense more. He needs a huge bounce back year. Keon Coleman needs to improve his catching ability, his contested catch ability, and he needs to improve separation and route running. And then just draft a guy like Matthew Golden or Luther Burden that can just take the top off a defense and, like, with ease, like take the doors off DBs, and you can't get your hands on me. Like, maybe I'm not the most physical guy in the world, physically gifted, but, like, if you can't get your hands on me, that doesn't matter. So get a guy that can take the doors off the defense, and we've never really had a guy that can get open downfield with ease. Yeah, a guy like Keon Coleman, it's great to have all the contested catchability in the world, but you know what's even better? Getting open with ease and not even having to worry about that risk, not even having to put a 50-50 ball up there. So that's what I'm looking from this wide receiver group. And if the money's right, we sign Amari Cooper. I'm very much in favor of that. There's going to be a lot of new contracts this offseason. Matt Collins, I expect to be back. Khalil Shakir signed a pretty sizable extension. Amari Cooper, if the money's right. And then they signed a couple of intriguing guys to futures deals like KJ Hamler, Tyrell Shavers, Jalen Virgil. If you don't know what reserve / future contracts are, it basically guarantees them a roster spot up until cutdown day, preseason, training camp, all that fun stuff. They'll compete in the 90-man roster for a roster spot. And I'm pretty intrigued, especially by Tyrell Shavers and KJ Hamler. And Jalen Virgil, honestly, too, but those are low-end roster guys. So I need some speedster that can separate easy downfield, though. Next, offensive line. This doesn't have to be touched. Maybe you could get more veteran presence because on the bench, because a lot of our reserves, like Alec Anderson, Ryan Vandermark, Tyler Grable, Cedric Van Brent Granger, they're all, like, young guys. They're all, like, 1, 2nd, or 3rd year guys. Even most of them are rookie. Half of them are rookies. So I would love to get a veteran tackle or veteran interior guy. Like, if someone goes down, you're not just relying on rookies or really young players. I think the starting group is fine. They're all phenomenal. Left tackle, Deion Dawkins. Left guard, David Edwards. Center, Connor McGovern. Right guard, Cybo, Cyrus Torrance. Right tackle, Spencer Brown. I was a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. You can go back to my podcast last year if we cut Mitch Morris. I was a little nervous about reshuffling this offensive line when it had been so good and dominant for years before that, especially the interior. They cut Mitch Morse. They moved Connor McGovern over from left guard to center and get rid of Ryan Bates. And they bring David Edwards up from the bench as the jumbo tight end role and put him at starting left guard. And, like, you didn't hear from him all year. And if you don't hear from an interior offensive lineman all year, that means they're barely ever, if ever, getting penalties. If you don't talk about an offensive lineman, yeah, tackles are recognized. But if you don't talk about those big, girthy guys up the middle, those hog mollies, if you will, in the interior, then that means they're having a pretty good year up front. So I don't think this offensive line needs much change at all. I would just like to add a veteran piece or two off the bench. So if someone, heaven forbid, and God forbid, goes down, you're not relying on rookies or second or third year players that like. I don't think you need to draft anyone. I'm just saying sign in free agency 1 or 2 year cheap veterans. 1 or 2, excuse me. Let's just say rather cheap veterans to fill out your bench, so it's not all second to fourth year and rookie young players. But starting 5 is like amazing. Like the Eagles, the Lions, and then the Bills are like arguably the third or fourth best offensive line in the entire league. The transition with the interior, like I explained a minute or two ago, has gone like light years better than I could have imagined. And then we get to the first true negative part of this podcast. I'm not going to swear or anything, but I'm going to be brutally honest with it. The defensive line, guys, something needs to happen here. This is a crime that this keeps happening against the Chiefs or anyone for that freaking matter. Brandon Beane has ignored defensive line for too long. Sean McDermott took over in 2017, and I feel like, actually, I know for a fact we've been talking about this goddamn defensive line and the lack of production, lack of this, lack of that, blah, 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 for 7 or 8 years by now. When is it going to change? I want a youth movement in the interior and off the edge. I want an overhaul. I in the interior, let me go through this quick. Ed Oliver, I think he peaked. I really do. I think he peaked in 2023. I think that was the best we were going to get for him. He had a really good playoff run. Broncos, Ravens, Chiefs. He was pretty damn dominant in those games. But in the regular season, other than like a few games here and there in December and January, didn't do nothing of note. So, obviously, he's a starter. I just wouldn't call him a game wrecker. Daquan Jones looked really slow and old opposite him. I think he will be under contract for next year just because of the lack of depth there. And then these 3 idiot washed-up veterans. I'm so sick of these washed-up veterans that play a relatively high amount of snaps and you're expecting something from them. Like, stop expecting. Like, Jordan Phillips, Austin Johnson, Quentin Jefferson. Thank God they're all free agents. I want someone who's like a big, fat blob up the middle who can just eat up double teams, eat up blocks, eat up zone rushers, and just stop the run like at a high level. And Jordan Phillips, he's 340 pounds. You would expect that for him just looking at his archetype and body structure and just how much he weighs. No, at 340 pounds, he's terrible against the running. Quentin Jefferson, nothing. Austin Johnson, long arms, tips up a couple interceptions directly at the line of scrimmage. Okay, great. They can all walk. Like, I want a youth movement in the draft. Like, someone I have my eye on. I don't want to spoil my free agency wish list, but Milton Williams, if there's one guy that I'm willing to break the bank for, if you will, and even overpay a little. I don't give a damn, overpay a little. It is Milton Williams from the Eagles. The reason no one recognizes him is because he's behind an elite defensive tackle in Jalen Carter and a pretty damn good defensive tackle in Jordan Davis, the Georgia duo. So he's a guy that like doesn't get as much recognition as he should, but that's the guy I'd even willing to overpay a few million here and there for. I'm just so sick of it. Like you got Ed Oliver, you got Daquan Jones, and then Dwayne Carter. Like, he's not going to be the one tech replacement ever for Daquan Jones to stop the run because very similar body type to Ed Oliver, maybe a little heavier by 10 or 15 pounds. They have similar play style to Ed Oliver, so he's Ed Oliver's direct backup at 3 tech. You need another hog molly at 1 tech who can stop the run at a high level. So Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Dwayne Carter, cool. Daquan Jones starting to phase out a bit next year. Jordan Phillips, Austin Johnson, Quentin Jefferson. Thank you, but no thank you. You all can walk. You all suck. Just no. And then off the edge, Greg Rousseau is supposed to be this game wrecker. I'm done trying to pretend that he's ever going to be something more than just like a 7 to 8 sack guy a year. He's arguably more oftentimes than not, unfortunately, a better run stuffer off the edge than he is a pure pass rusher like he's supposed to be. Which is sad to say, but I don't think he's ever a double-digit sack guy, so he's not a true game wrecker in my opinion. And then Von Miller, please cut him. Post-June first designation would be ideal. I know what that means. You have to spread out the dead cap hits over 2 years, 2025 and 26 respectively. I don't care. Like, you got half a year from him. Thanks for your service. Future Hall of Famer. See you later. Retire. You need to. And then A.J. Epinesa off the edge. He's nothing more than maybe a 3rd or 4th rotational guy. He peaked in 2023. He for sure peaked, but I don't think he's anywhere close to like a starting high snap taker defensive end in this league, third or fourth rotational pass rusher. And then Dewan Smoot, same kind of a deal, a little worse than AJ Epinesa, a few good pass rush reps here and there. I'm fine with him walking, but for the edge and necessity off the edge, if you want to resign him to a 1 year deal, again, a lot of these guys 1 year cheap deals, a 1 year like $4 or $5 million deal, $3 million at least, then that's fine. Like a few pass rush a game, but like he's nothing high end. So linebackers, I think, are fine. I just want to sign like maybe a key veteran to kind of lead these guys because all these guys under contract are young. Like Joe Andreessen, Eddie Lufocio, Balen Spector. Please cut him. He's never healthy. How many times does he have to go on IR? Then go off IR, on IR, off IR. And then Matt Milane's the veteran, but he probably has 1, maybe 2 years left with the Bills. If I were to project, unfortunately. And then Dorian Williams, I'm really excited for the future. And then Terrell Bernard. So sign, a low-cost veteran or two that can kind of push the young guys and push these fringe roster guys like Lufocio, Spector. God, please cut in. And then Andreessen. Corners, I think, along with the defensive line, the two positions that are going to have the most overhaul this offseason are number one, defensive line for sure. In number two, corners. The only ones under contract are Christian Benford, Jamarcus Ingram, Taron Johnson. Okay, so quite a few of them are under contract. Christian Benford, I think he's an elite corner, top 5 corner in this league already. No one recognizes it because there's Christian Benford, 6th-round pick from Villanova. No one cares, right? But, like, he's awesome. He never gets tested. He never gets interceptions or hands in the ball, pass breakups and whatnot because he'll never have those sexy stats and numbers because no one even targets him. They know how good he is. The just NFL community doesn't. And fans and whatnot. Rasul Douglas, he really shows age. He's 31. Going to be 32 years old next year. I view him as someone who's going in the Stephon Gilmore plan. Maybe he can sign 1 year, $8 to $10 million deals in a zone-heavy defense, 2 or 3 more years at most. Although I wouldn't go above 5, maybe. My cutoff is 1 year, $6 million. If that's more than $6 million, which he probably will, like, thanks for your service, the year and a half, but see you later. Like, he looked really old and slow. He's never overly athletic corner to begin with in Green Bay. But like he really, really showed his age. And then Kyrie Elam, I'm sorry, he just doesn't fit. They knew he was a man corner coming in. They knew he was a press man, overly aggressive corner coming in out of Florida. And then they say, well, you got to fit in a zone defense. And he can't even beat out Dane Jackson, Christian Benford, and injured Trey White all the time. Like that's really, really concerning. And the thing he's known for, being a true press man corner, is that game against the Chiefs. I don't want to harp on the game, like I said, but like he can't even do what he's supposed to do. I would have put in Jamarcus Ingram in a heartbeat after we saw 2 atrocious reps from Kyrie Elam. To put it bluntly and my honest opinion, I should say. Sorry about that. I don't know. I think Kyrie Elam and the Bills staff's headed for a divorce. It doesn't sound like they have much confidence in him right now. They're going to decline his 5th-year option, and for some reason I just remember on offense, I accidentally skipped over tight end. So let's touch on that real quick and then circle back and can finish off with safeties and whatnot. For tight ends, Dawson Knox, Don Kincaid, Quentin Morris. I believe Quentin Morris is unrestricted free agent. He's another guy like Ty Johnson to a lesser degree, though. He can be a lot of guys tight end too. A lot of teams in the NFL's tight end too, So I think he might leave for a bigger payday, if you will. I could expect it. And then I really like the trajectory of Zach Davidson, who I really like as a tight end 3/4. And then Don Kincaid, pretty underwhelming through 2 years, not going to lie. First year, it was really good. Second year, though, even before, everyone's going to point, he was injured. Torn PCL in his knee. Week 10 against the Colts. Okay, but even before that, he was very underwhelming. I get it. He had a lot of uncatchable throws, but against the Chiefs game, like, you got to catch the ball on 4th and 5. In the 2 tight end thing, the 12 personnel little experiment that they tried with Joe Brady, that has been a complete and atrocious failure. I mean, send that to the moon. Like, don't ever try that again. Then Dawson Knox, who makes $14 million, is like a backup tight end, like a pseudo starter, a fringe starter, whatever you want to term it as, whatever the hell it is. He makes way too much as a $14 million a year tight end / fringe starter. So I've been very disappointed. Dalton Kincaid. Brandon Beane's 1st-round picks. Let's go through it. 2017 was Trey White. I was thinking Doug Whaley. Doug Whaley. What a callback. 2018 was Brandon Beane's 1st draft with the Bills. You take Josh Allen. Elite hit. Tremaine Edmonds. Never made splash plays, but that's a pretty great hit. 2019 first-round pick, Ed Oliver. I'd say that's a hit, but not as much as we, including myself, wanted it to be. 2020, traded a first-round pick for Stephon Diggs. All drama aside, top 5 wide receiver, 4th or 5th best receiver in Bills franchise history. That was a hit. 2021, Greg Rousseau. It looks like it's a hit, although I don't think it's a true game record. 2022, first-round pick, Kyrie Elam. Miss. I'm calling him a bust. In 2023 pick, Dalton Kincaid. First-round pick, Dalton Kincaid. I'm not going to say a total miss right now, but it's a slight miss in my opinion. Then 2024, they traded back twice. They traded out of Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs. They traded out of Xavier Legette with the Panthers. Legette, I don't care about Worthy. That seems a little rough. But anyway, our first pick, our 2 second-round picks were Keon Coleman and Cole Bishop, and I saw a lot of concerning issues with Keon Coleman, like I mentioned with the wide receiver group. So, yeah, that's just not going. That's not. Keon Coleman didn't have as good a rookie year as I wanted him to, but in his defense, he did miss 4 games. But back to the corners, I think a lot of transition here. Christian Benford, like elite corner. Taron Johnson, the slot, elite corner. Jamarcus Ingram, I think they view him as kind of a Cam Lewis who can play everywhere. Outside corner, nickel, dime safety, third safety if you want him to. Elite special teamer as well. But Rasul Douglas, I expect to not be re-signed. Gone. I'll be very shocked if he is. Kyrie Elam, I'll be shocked if he's back in the team. Traded. I like 3rd-round pick. I'd take, like, that sounds ridiculous for a former first-round pick, but I really would. No one's going to trade higher than that. And if that, then they'll probably cut it. For safeties, the duo this year was Taylor Rapp and Damar Hamlin. It's sounding more and more like Damar Hamlin. He said his dream before the season is to play at the Steelers. He's known Mike Tomlin since he was a little kid, since he could walk, basically, he said. He grew up in Pittsburgh. He went to the University of Pittsburgh. He went to Pitt, played at the Pitt Panthers, so he knows Mike Tomlin very well. I think he's headed towards the Steelers because they desperately need safety pretty well next to Minkah Fitzpatrick. And he's not some high-end starter. He's some serviceable starter. Obviously, I'll never forget him for the whole, like, heart attack thing. He literally died in the field. Like, he's a true Buffalo hero, but, like, the play just wasn't, like, a high-end this year. So I think this starting safety duo will – Taylor Rapp, I think, is locked into a strong safety role this season, but there's a couple intriguing free agent safeties in mind. And even in the draft, like, this is a pretty deep safety class in the draft and free agency, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then kicker, Tyler Bass. Punter, Sam Martin. They did re-sign. So they did sign a few weeks ago punter Jake Camarda, whatever the hell. Jake Camarda to a reserve/future contract, so he'll compete with Sam Martin, or Sam Martin's cut in March by the new league years, like March 15th or 17th, I believe. I'll have to check the exact date on that. Then Sam Martin's a replaceable punter. They can save almost $2 million by cutting him. But yeah, it's really, really kind of like the special teams unit. Like, kicking and punting was fine, but the kick coverage units allowed 2 kick return touchdowns. The punt return touchdowns or punt return units, I feel like they were allowing really big returns every damn week. And Sean McDermott says, I believe in Matthew Smiley. He'll be back. I don't understand why. Like, DVOA, every metric you look at, their bottom 5 special teams, anything. So I don't understand why he's back. But anyways, guys, that's kind of my synopsis of the whole roster inventory right now. You can, of course, watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast. You can follow me personally on Twitter at AWeingarten13. Follow the show on Twitter at Around Slice. And I want to kind of brief you guys on my schedule going forward. So I'm in off-season mode now. Unfortunately, we're in off-season mode. Once again, a game or two earlier than we would want to be. Nothing ever goes away. Anyway, next Friday, in the off season, Around the Slice will be every Monday and Friday going forward, starting next Friday with my Bills 2024 season review, and after that, every Monday and Friday. I also want to relaunch and bring back the Around the Slice Fantasy Football Show, which I'm thinking every Wednesday, but final details in the coming weeks for that. Anyways, guys, this offseason is going to be great. Free agency, draft, combine, all that. Thank you for supporting us always. In the offseason now more than ever, I appreciate you guys for this whole regular season. It's not the outcome that we wanted, but hopefully we'll be back and better than ever. Brandon Bean, please address the D-line for once. Like, overhaul it all. I need it. Anyways, guys, I'll be back next Friday, February 7th, for that much anticipated, like I just mentioned, big Bills 2024 season review. See you then. Thanks for the support. Bye.